Hello and welcome to another podcast for the Yakima Symphony Orchestra. My name is Jeff Snedeker and I'm here with Lawrence Golan, our music director. And today we're going to talk about an upcoming concert of the Yakima Symphony on Saturday, February 19th, 2011 at 7:30 p.m. in the Capitol Theater in Yakima, Washington. The program has the title Concert Fantastique. And of course, that raises all sorts of interesting questions, and also some things that may be kind of obvious. For example, the major work on the program is Hector Berlioz' Symphony Fantastique from 1831. And Lawrence, this is quite an important work for orchestra, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not only is it a great work, but it's, as you said, extremely important for a couple of different reasons. Probably the most important reason is its connection with programmaticism.
Right.
Now, programmatic music is one of the absolute hallmarks of the entire Romantic period. Programmatic music means that rather than just absolute music, music for the sake of music, it tells some sort of story or a poem or depicts a painting or various characters.
Right. And in this case, we actually have a storyline.
We
right?
do.
There's not only a sort of a plot to the sequence of events, or at least within the movements, but there's a sort of an umbrella to this, right? There's well, it's the disgruntled lover in a way, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's actually autobiographical. Berlioz saw a play that featured the Irish actress Harriet Smithson. And he became enamored with her. He didn't meet her in person, but became enamored, in fact, infatuated with her. And this piece is essentially, well, it's certainly inspired by that. And it goes further, though. He imagines an artist being poisoned by opium, and the artist envisions these various scenes involving the woman who was
right.
Harriet Smithson.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because the whole issue of this dreaming that he goes through, induced by opium, is a sort of opens the door for him to be quite imaginative, doesn't it?
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, I'll throw this in here. I remember reading a review when he tested the couple of movements of the piece on the Paris public about 1830, thereabouts. A couple of trial runs on a couple of movies. The critic said a rather entertaining thing. He said, Mr. Berlioz is quite an imaginative composer, but he seems to have trouble controlling the length. As a matter of fact, I'm quite sure these pieces would be twice as good if they were half as long, which is pretty fun. To think about. But the thing that I think is, of course, most interesting about the program is how he, in a sense, uses the orchestra to portray these various scenes.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we should talk about the idée fixe.
Right, exactly. The melody that ties the whole thing together.
That's
that
right.
represents Harriet Smithson.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. And we should also talk about the orchestration,
right.
But also just to close up the importance, the topic of the importance. So this element of programmaticism, which became one of the hallmarks of the Romantic period, this piece, very early on in the Romantic period, is really considered the prototype or the quintessential programmatic symphony. It wasn't the first. The catalyst was actually Beethoven,
Right.
Who was the catalyst for many things.
For pretty much everything.
Pretty
in the
much
19th
everything,
century, yes.
right? But this was, like I said, the quintessential programmatic symphony. And then there's the orchestration.
Right.
A lot. The brass have a lot of interesting things.
Well, they do, and I think that the interesting thing from a brass player's standpoint is how he uses the brass section in effect to help to create these images. One of the favorites, of course, is for the brass players anyway, is the fourth movement, which is the march to the scaffold, and how it's a very sort of a march that starts sort of quietly and gradually gets louder and louder and louder until eventually the hero is brought to the scaffold and his head is chopped off, and the music then sort of represents not only the chopping but the head rolling off and down into wherever it rolls off to.
One of the most grotesque moments in musical history.
Well, if you know what's going on.
Exactly.
If you don't, it's a very exciting moment, and you're still quite struck by it.
Right.
But once you know what it is, it's kind of a, oh, feel to it.